Okay, so like I said, all the chapter 8 problems are going to be 5-step problems. So your first step is to say what your null and alternative hypothesis is. Once you do that, you're going to find what is called the critical values or the critical region. So this, what we're going to do right now, is going to be step 2 in your 5-step process. Okay, so I'm going to draw it, and I'll tell you kind of why I draw it. Some of you will choose not to once you start doing the 5 steps, and that's totally fine. So here's what we want is a two-tailed test with alpha equals 0.02. Two-tailed test means we're going to have this. Since alpha is 0.02, we need 0.01 in each side. This is exactly what you did in chapter 7 with the confidence intervals, only they gave you the inside part. Now they're giving you the outside part. Okay, and that's what we want to find. So since it's two-tailed, we need to split it in two. So we're going to use our z-chart. Okay, in 8.2 and 8.1, we're going to use our z-chart. So again, you're going to look in the big part of your chart to find the number that's closest to 0.01. And we have a 0.0099. So that's negative 2.33 and positive 2.33. So your step 2, it could look just like this. That's all you would need to show in step 2. Some people would rather do this, CV equals plus minus 2.33. So if you want to just write it out rather than have the drawing, that's fine. When we're done here, I'm going to tell you why the drawing is helpful, but some people still don't need the drawing. It's up to you. All right, so again, what you do is from step 1, you need to know how to draw this picture, and here's how. Step 1 would look like this. Remember, mu is always equal to k. Since it's two tails, we need not equal to. It's not greater than or less than. It's not equal to because it's two tails. Okay, so step 1 would look like this. Has to have a not equal to. Step 2 then, if it said alpha equals 0.02, would look exactly like that. So your critical values are negative and positive 2.33. The shaded area is considered your critical region. Okay, so shaded region or shaded area equals the critical region. And what separates those critical regions are the critical values of plus and minus 2.33. Okay, now we want a left-tailed test with alpha equals 0.01, or sorry, 0.1, not 0.01. So notice I didn't split it in half. So the hard part about chapter 8 is you need to know when to split it into two and when not to. If your step 1 is a not equal to, that means you need to have a two-tailed test, area in both sides. This one wants a left-tailed test, so it all goes in the left. So you're going to look up in your big part of your chart what's closest to 0.1, and you get negative 1.28. All right, so your critical value is negative 1.28, or that is considered the critical region. So again, this would be step 2. Step 1 for this part would look like this. Your h sub 0 is again mu equals k. That doesn't change. H sub 1, since it's left-tailed, would be a less than sign. Okay, so again, we're going out of order, but in 8.2, you have to come up with this first, and this tells you to draw this picture. All right. Last one, we want a right-tailed test with alpha equals 0.005. So again, you need to look up in the big part of your chart, find 0.005. You're going to get negative 2.58. So we know this needs to be positive 2.58. Or if you wanted to, you could look up 0.995. Okay, I always tell people you should be able to do this part, but since it's right-tailed or greater than, you should know it needs to be the positive 2.58 rather than the negative. Okay, step 1 for this one would look like this. H sub 0 again is mu equals k. H sub 1 would be a greater than sign. Okay, so one of these pictures would be step 2. Step 1 is always your hypotheses. Step 2 is a picture. Step 3 is where you do the test value. Okay, so we're not going to do that because we don't have actual numbers. Step 4 is either going to say reject H sub 0 or do not reject H sub 0. You can only reject or not reject H sub 0. You never do anything with H sub 1. Okay? How do we know whether we reject or not reject? If your test value, which we don't know what to do with that yet, is in the critical region, you reject H sub 0. Okay, so if it's not in there, then you don't reject it. Again, I know this is super confusing right now. Hopefully when you look at 8.2 and see a whole problem done at once, it will make more sense. So here that I have to just tell you, I did not come up with this. A former student came up with this, and I promised her I would always tell every class because it's helpful. So just so you know, I did not come up with this. It's very hard for me to say this, okay? So just keep that in mind. Here's why people like to draw the picture, because we have a shaded region. The area, the critical region, is considered the shaded region or the shaded area. So if your test value is in the shaded area, you're going to reject H sub 0. Well, this person thought H sub 0 kind of looks like the word hoe. So if it's shady, you need to reject the hoe. So that's very naughty, but she said it was helpful, and other people have said it is too. So I told her I would pass it along. So there you go.